Whoa, Akariss was using Lilina before? Yes, I was. I have a plus attack baloney tone. If you actually look at my selection here, there's no option for plus attack because I did actually choose to roll that. I was riding the hype train with that right before anyone was. If you guys have actually witnessed any of my Omega Lilina gameplay, you'll know that, no, not magic is everything, attack is everything. Isn't this like the most amazing thing ever? Oh, that is so freaking great. Alright, so we're gonna talk a little bit about these new weapons. I'll start with Lilina. Just gotta give her back her quick impulse, because that's super crucial to the build. We'll start with definitely what most people are basically pog champing about, and that's Lilina's Foreblaze. And I can definitely agree with it. I was using Lilina long before anyone was spamming poggers when Lilina got this update. So this actual refinement is amazing for what my specific Lilina build wants to accomplish, and I'll show you that in a showcase, video coming up soon. It'll be on the stream after as well. But anyways. Foreblaze, and the reason I chose to choose an attack refinement is because this AoE build is very crucial to have every single attack stat point that you can possibly roll with. And that's huge because all it does is compare her attack stat to the enemy res. What that literally means is that I need as much stats as possible, which Life and Death 3 provides, but Death Blow 3 does not provide. Okay, so Death Blow 3 is an in-combat ability. AoE effect specials only compare stats that are out of combat. Death Blow 3, Distant Defense, Steady Breaths, Warding Breaths, these things do not apply in calculations and related to AoE effects. So basically, the difference between the Foreblaze attack refinement and the Death Blow refinement is that Death Blow would only be in combat. And this means that I'd be losing out on a little bit of damage through Blazing Wind, which now in hindsight, now that I've actually done the attack refinement, I realize that the Death Blow effect is still fine, even against damage mitigation of a blue unit. I realize that is the fact. That one attack is not a difference here. Now when it comes to the A slot, it only happened to be one attack difference between Death Blow and Life and Death, but the AoE that you would lose out is 6 difference. Like it'd be 6 attack difference, and that's huge. So that's why I've chosen Life and Death in the A, because it gives you 56 61 attack rather than 56 in the combat calculations. Now the thing that I was most excited for was actually the fact that it has chill res, and that means that the calculations that Blazing Wind or any AoE special does just looks at that base res stat and hammers it into. There is literally I'm pretty confident to say this, but there should not be a single unit off a defense tile in this whole game that can survive an instant AoE special, quick impulse, 3 infantry pulses, instant AoE turn 1 Lilina with Foreblaze and Death Blow refinement. Not actually the attack refinement, but I'm pretty sure even with the attack refinement that the Death Blow doesn't matter. Now what makes Death Blow pretty interesting though is the fact that she does indeed have some out of once her AoE is down, she's able to use Foreblaze's effect here to basically kill people without relying on the AoE special. But in most cases she could do this anyways because she has a monstrous 61 attack. She's got that Earth Blessing from Legendary Ike to bring it up to 63 attack during Earth season, and then of course we have usually 1 honed attack to bring her up to 67 attack. Now she doesn't have 10 merges, but with 10 merges, this would honestly be up to 70 attack Lilina. Huge, actually huge. It would be 69 attack though, by reducing it down to a Foreblaze with 14 attack rather than 15. But in general, this is huge. One thing I did consider though is, by going to the Foreblaze with Death Blow, the AoE on other units, other than the main target, is reduced a little bit. I believe it's 1 or 2 damage. And what I've ended up substituting is the fact that I used to use Threaten Res in the C slot rather than Savage Blow 3. So now that, I don't really need Threaten Res as often to increase the damage of the AoE special while Chill Res is hitting the target I need, it means I can now put Savage Blow 3 to increase the AoE effect even harder on other AoE targets. And that should soften them up for Lilina to actually capitalize and kill them on the following turn, which is, like mine is blown. I'll show you later what I'm talking about. Anyways, I don't normally run Swordbreaker in the B slot. I actually choose to run Axebreaker in case you run into some Worry Fighter Axe users, armored units with high HP and decent res. So for instance, Sheena, Lisa, and Chrom, these all have could potentially have Worry Fighter and possibly have, you know, decent enough res and HP to survive an attack. And that's why I would use Axebreaker to break that stalemate and guarantee a kill. Because if your red unit is not killing a green unit, then you're going to end up into some issues during combat, of course. Swordbreaker is here temporarily just to take care of the adult Tiki and Naui Bound Hero battle, which you guys will see in a moment using Lilina. Anyways, this refinement is indeed poggers, and I think in most situations you should indeed refine for the Deathblow refinement. All other builds will definitely appreciate that Deathblow refinement. If you choose not to use Lilina with the AoE build, you don't necessarily have to be giving stuff like Life and Death. If you do choose to use Life and Death, my Lilina here is plus attack minus speed. I would prefer a plus attack minus HP one. Now that she's 3-star, I hope I can pull that on. I can pull that copy one day. But yeah, if you ran something like a plus speed Lilina with Life and Death, that could work. And the reason I say that is because you could run some really, really interesting stuff. You could run like a Windsweep Phantom Speed build, for instance, and you could avoid counterattacks from all melee units by having also insane, you know, frontal damage. Like, with a plus speed Lilina, she's going to end up having 33-ish speed or so, 33, 34-ish speed. Phantom speed up to 43, and that's going to make her really strong. You know, to be able to basically avoid most counterattacks except by the super speedy units. You know, Windsweep, I think that'd be a decent build. If you don't want to run that, like, of course, you could run like Deathblow 3 in the A slot. It doesn't need to be plus speed. You could run like a plus attack. And again, use the 4 Blaze refinement, and you're going to do like insane damage. So Lilina's is definitely the most hype, I'd say here. Water Blessing, yeah. And then, of course, you could use something like Water Blessing if you run with a plus speed Lilina to really boost up her speed stat. So again, if you run my build, you do need 3 infantry pulses. You could definitely pull it off with Marissa. So, let's look at someone else's refinement. Some other really cool stuff that we saw today is indeed Nameless Blade from Karel. Now, I was already using Karel before his Nameless Blade as well, as you can see by my attack refined unit there. His Nameless Blade is just a combination of Wodow and Slaying Edge. It's kind of like the Hot Claire effect from Minerva and Macallus. What I do find super interesting, though, is the way I've recommended building Karel is kind of unique. If you've never seen my Marissa build, I'd kind of recommend following that. He has the highest HP of like all Swordmasters except Marissa. So I wanted to show you a good example of how you could end up building a Karel. Very similar, but even better than Marissa now. Officially, he should definitely do more damage because Karel will have 16 attack without needing an attack refinement, reducing the cooldown special of Vengeance down to 2. And remember, this is a unique build. Using Fury Vantage with Vengeance and a Vengeance charged up, you end up having some insanely high damage. You could give him an HP seal, and you can have about 20 to 30 true damage pretty consistently. And especially with the cooldown recharge charge being lowered by Nameless Blade. So if you want to consider a pretty cool one-shot build, I like to call it the one-shot build, you could basically stay at 1 HP, have some combat with him, go into 1 or 2 fights, bring him down to 1 HP, and set up some really cool stuff like that. Now, the way you want to obviously use this is more ideal in some modes like Tempest Trials and Chain Challenge. Not as useful in Arena, it does require some setup, but I think it's a pretty cool build, so it kind of like amps up the power of that. And yeah, you're just basically set up for an enemy phase, huge true damage kill with Fury Vantage. The reason you use Fury is because, give bulk, but the residual damage can't bring you under 1 HP, and that's what counts here. So that's really awesome. Again, use like an HP seal, bring Karel's HP up to something really high, and in this case it'd be like 54 with a 5 HP seal, and yeah, you're basically good to go. So I think I'll be building that later on, and I think that's one really good way to build him. Of course, you could run the typical Fury Desperation, that most Swordmasters run, and you're gonna get good value out of that too. So many other Swordmasters doing that already, right? Like, come on. You already have like Athena, Mia, Ira. They can all run these builds just as good, if not better, than Karel. So, you know, give him a sort of role that makes him unique, makes him different. As for Fur, she's gonna be a little bit different, and utilizing her high speed and high res, that extra damage that she gets from the Nameless Blade's, you know, damage effect, and in combination with the slaying edge reduction, means that she's gonna really appreciate running something like what my Mia runs, and that's the Disencounter Wrath set. And the reason you want to run something like this is because you'll get some really high damage out of that. Now, I don't necessarily think that she's going to do as much damage as Mia, but considering she has such high res, it means that she would be a better mage tank than Mia was. And you could give her some interesting stuff too. Like you could give her like Deflect Magic 3, and Deflect Magic 3 combination with Disencounter Wrath, giving her like Glacies with that new Nameless Blade means that, yeah, you're going to be able to take 2 hits from Reinhardt, survive. Your Glacies goes down to 1 charge because you got doubled by Reinhardt, and then you actually blow him up with Nameless Blade. That's an interesting thing that somebody like Mia can't do, right? So, you know, consider things like that. You don't necessarily have to run things like Glacies widely. You could run like Iceberg and just have more consistent damage that way, but I just think that that's something that makes, you know, Fur unique. Like I said, I'm pretty interested in Fur, so I plan to, you know, maybe Weapon Refiner soon enough. Do we even talk about Lloyd? Yeah, okay, well, we'll look at Lloyd for a second. And I haven't forgotten about Roy either. Okay, so here's our boy Lloyd, running that beautiful Pass 1 build, whatever that might be. So Regal Blade is able to be refined, and for those who don't know what it does, it's basically this portion here, attack speed 2, got upgraded to attack speed 3, so it's got a little bit of a minor buff there. Another interesting part is that his Weapon Refine means that if he is bonded, basically think like Chrom, instead of getting +4 to all stats, he's going to get +3 to all stats if he's within 2 spaces of an infantry mage ally. So that opens up a couple of options. I think he'll be really good on like a blade mage team with distant. He pretty much needs Disencounter because he's running a similar stat spread to what like Fur was running, right? Like high res, low defense, decent speed, not like amazing, but decent speed, decent attack, and yeah, he's gonna be like a really good Disencounter user as well, unfortunately. And it's going to really be encouraged by the fact that you'll be on a mage, like probably a player phase mage or something, and, you know, like a blade mage team. And yeah, he's going to want to run with some friends, like a mage friend. Like maybe Nino, Tail 2 would be some good friends with him, for example. Then we have this guy. I'm not that impressed. I'm really not. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just not that impressed by this refinement. So, if you guys don't know how janky Roy's stat spread is, just basically look at it up here, right? This is a minus attack plus HP Roy, but in general, if it was a neutral attack, he'd be at 46 attack, which is just bad, man. Like 30 attack is just unacceptable. He's got pretty good defensive stats, but it's not anything to say like it's totally amazing. He's not shining in anything, and his speed stat is decent at best, right? He just doesn't have anything going for him. And even his HP is going to be lower to what I'm ultimately going to compare him to. The thing that's cool is he got that, you know, he got that dragon bonus, but the thing is, his attack stat is only 30 at base. So you need like a plus attack to bring him to 49 attack just to, you know, to even call it decent. But is that really decent? That would probably still miss kills on a lot of dragons, especially something like Flying Grima with Dragon Skin, close defense. Like, he's going to miss those kills. Yeah, the Green Grima's probably dead, but even that might be like barely, especially if you run something like close defense, like double close defense or such. So yeah, I mean, like, this is unacceptable. Like, he's not really taking advantage of that color, you know, effective damage from dragons. So you maybe probably, and the thing is, if you play your phase, you generally don't want to because you're running quick riposte, right? So he's running that quick riposte like 5 by being at over 50%. Why does this matter? In most arena combats, you're never really fighting more than 1 or 2 combat situations where QR has already done its job on like the first or second fight. You don't need it to be down this low. There'd be some niche cases where this matters, but in general, I don't think so. So, like, look at this. Defense resistance 4, that's great. Maybe you're thinking, yeah, I'll just use him to bait out dragons. You know, he's got that dragon effectiveness, he's got some extra bulk, I got QR running for me. Sweet, that's how I'll do it. Now let me show you something else. Oh. Yeah, I know I got summoner support, I know I got plus 10. I know guys. Don't look at the stats specifically, okay? Look at this. I get plus 4 to all stats. So your plus 4 defense and resistance, which needs to be you get engaged on, cool. I guess you're more independent than Chrom is. You don't believe in bonds. Okay, I understand. But I believe in bonds. So I get 4 to all stats. You only get 4 to defense and res. Sorry, Roy. Now, okay, fine. You have more res than me. Okay, cool. That doesn't matter. Chrom has never been killed by a dragon except by really speedy Nowies. And maybe possibly speedy Corans. And I think that is probably the one case where Roy might be able to outdo Chrom. But the thing is, I don't think Roy would kill based on his low attack stat. See, Chrom has 36 attack at base, 6 more attack than Roy, which means with effective damage, he has 9 extra attack over Roy. That's sad, man. Like, Roy is extremely behind when it comes to beating up dragons, whereas Chrom gets extremely high bonus damage that, you know, Roy just doesn't get. So, yeah, I'm not that impressed. If you thought, like, high HP mattered, no, Chrom has 47 HP at base, Roy has 44. Higher attack on Chrom. Speed, again, you don't get bonus speed when you get engaged on Roy. I do. So then, it's because a Chrom is not minus speed, it means that he actually has 25 speed up to 29, which puts him only 3 speed lower than a Roy at base. So that 3 speed is generally not going to matter because most dragons are slow. Like, Chrom is fast enough with his falchion buff. Possibly one sort of speed buff, it could be from Water's Blessing, it could be from ally support, that he would actually not get doubled by any dragon. I have not had anyone except like 40 speed plus dragons double Chrom. So yeah, it ends up being a situation where even like F Robin Grima didn't end up killing Chrom even with 23 res. And in some cases he'd be down to like 19, 20 res. Again, it wouldn't matter because of Falchion giving him that 4 res. So sorry, Roy. I think the one thing that I could make him be useful with his new refinement is indeed going to be Disencounter, which is what I was kind of hoping he might have got on his weapon, but it sadly didn't happen. So if you want to make, you know, Roy kind of better than Chrom, I think Disencounter better in one thing. It'd probably give him Disencounter and then just bait out mages with him. I think that's his best option. Now, what you really want to also consider, though, is that there's a character in the game. That, again, has some pretty decent stat spread. That doesn't even need the QR refinement and gets more stats. Yeah. I'm talking about this. This, guys. It's Chrom's daughter. Mine's minus speed. Look at her attack stat. Look at this. The only thing lacking on Lucina is indeed her resistance stat. So the only thing, but again, bonds, right? You got that extremely high stat spread. What does this mean? It means that Roy literally is delegated to being some sort of anti-mage where there's only about 10 or 15 damage that matters, where Lucina would die, that Roy doesn't. But in some cases, Roy gets doubled and Lucina doesn't, so Lucina could end up being a better Disencounter user than Roy. So, what is Roy doing? What did this refinement accomplish for him? Someone please send me a Roy that's useful. Or a Roy that honestly... Like, don't just send me a Roy beating up things. I'd like to see a Roy that can beat up things that either Lucina or Chrom couldn't. If you can prove that to me in some way, I would love to see it. We did just get Fur refinement, boys. We did just get Lloyd and Fur as a refinement. And if you're hyping up Roy, well, there's space in this bin over here for Roy, especially after all the turmoil that Grima's been in. He needs some friends. So be sure to send Roy this way. And yeah, so that's pretty much my analysis on these new refinements so far. I think they're, in general, pretty cool. I think, honestly, the most underwhelming one is Roy's. I am Roy, a son pledged to fulfilling the wish my father made as he was sick to battle Burn. He's nice hair, Roy. Looks accurate to me.